If you're happy, you're healthy, and you're achieving what you want to achieve, continue with whatever you're doing because clearly it's working. Once again, I'm wearing a black top that's absolutely covered in cat hair, even though it's straight out the wash, and I'm also ill. Don't know why. It's not the old Rona this time, but I'm ill again. My immune system is definitely not what it used to be. I'll tell you that for free. I think it's a sinus infection, not feeling too spicy. I am aware the last few videos have been horrendously long, and I've been actively trying to bring down the duration of my videos, or at least some of the videos, so they're not all towards the like 15 to 20 minute mark. So what I'm going to try and do today is I'm going to try and make this a shorter, concise, but hopefully informative and somewhat tolerable video, because we're going to be discussing something that I've seen pop up quite a lot in recent months, and that's actually walking workouts. So initially I kind of saw Grow with Joe doing some similar workouts along these lines, and then some people started sending me other creators, such as the one we're going to be looking at today as like the catalyst for conversation, and the example being Emi Wong, which is somebody I've spoken about previously. And there are a lot of people saying, well, Harry, what's the deal with walking workouts? You know, what's occurring, what's going on, and are they really as beneficial as they kind of claim to be? So for example, this workout is stated it's a 30-minute walking cardio workout, intense full body fat burn at home, obviously made by Emi, which is interesting, and I'm going to explain why it's interesting and why this is a relevant and necessary conversation in just a moment. But obviously before we crack on with the video, we're going to crack on with the bits and bobs that need to be done. If at any point throughout this video you like the video, then please let me know you like the video just by liking the video. Only like the video if you actually feel like you either like it or you've learned something from it. In addition to that, if you haven't already, please do consider clicking the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, and maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, then please also drop it down below in the comment section for comment question of the week, and I shall answer it at the end of the next video. I got all these headbands from the same place, and they've all got a different Halloween theme on, which I think is really appropriate and actually really convenient for the October headwear season. Like I said, we're going to crack on the video now, and I'm going to make sure this is shorter than normal because I waffle on too much, and I definitely could be more concise, especially with videos like this, where it's almost going to be less educational but maybe more informative. So obviously it's a walking workout, as you can see. Firstly, look at all the chapters. I rate that highly. That is convenient. Much respect for that. So essentially the premise of this walking workout is just kind of what it says on the tin. It's a walking cardio workout for intense full body fat burn. I understand that the use of like full body fat burn is there for like titling and clickbait purposes. When somebody says like full body fat burn, that almost implies that you could almost isolate areas of the body for fat burning, when we know that spot reduction of fat is not possible. So you cannot choose where you lose fat. Fat just comes off where it wants to come off, which is largely determined by genetic, and it's not going to be determined by the exercises you choose or the type of activity you choose. I know a lot of you are probably going in with the idea that I'm going to say this is useless, you shouldn't do it, all that stuff. But I'm gonna throw a curveball today, and I want you to just hang on just for a moment. So essentially what this is 30 exercises in which there's 40 seconds per exercise, 20 seconds rest. And every movement you see is going to be a variation of essentially standing and walking to some extent. So we've got punch and step, side to side, ankle taps, things like that. So this is what she means by walking workout. If you split them down bit by bit, you've got to kind of ask yourself is what are workouts like this going to achieve? Are these going to be incredible for building muscle? Absolutely not, because obviously lack of resistance, lack of progressive overload, things along those lines. But realistically, if you're doing a workout that's titled 30-minute walking cardio workout, you're probably not doing so with the sole intention of building as much muscle as possible. It's just likely not going to occur. So then you separate it, say, well, okay, is this good for fitness perhaps? Is this good for your aerobic fitness? And arguably, again, that really depends on how fit you already are. And this is what I mean by a bit of a curveball. Movements like this are not going to be massively effective for like working muscles themselves. They're not going to be great for the shoulders, the lats, the hamstrings, whatever it may be, because again, there's no real resistance. You've got a bit of gravity and that's it. But what Emi's actually trying to achieve here is not mass muscle activation. No, not at all. What she's actually trying to achieve here is just additional movement. And essentially she's doing so in a manner that essentially removes the generic idea of aerobic based activity where you have to run, you have to do this, like generic cardio, and trying to do so in a more fun and engaging way. So rather than just saying we're going to walk on the spot for half an hour, Emi's saying, you know, we're going to walk on the spot, but also going to throw some variations in there. Granted, when you label things like standing ab bike, this is not going to be very effective for the abdominal region because, again, I've said this before, the kind of primary function of the abdominal region, that kind of six-pack we're looking at here, is to essentially reduce the distance between your sternum and your pelvis. And although movements like this are certainly doing so, as you can see if we skip back slightly, that distance is being slightly reduced. That's not being reduced due to resistance or the muscles contracting. That's actually being reduced due to gravity. So gravity is kind of bringing your sternum down to your pelvis. So because we've identified that gravity is doing this and not our muscles, we can take it away, so you know what, this isn't going to be that effective for the abs. But what it is going to be effective for is the fact that we're walking as we started with, but we're also now throwing in additional movement to that walking to potentially actually increase the difficulty of that cardiovascular activity we're engaging in, which is this, whilst actually also potentially increasing the number of calories that could be burnt during this. On paper, you may say, well, why is she just kicking the air? Again, she's not kicking the air because she's trying to activate muscles and lead to mass hypertrophy, being the building of muscle. What she's actually doing is she's kicking the air to get you moving more, whilst not really thinking about the fact that you're actually moving more and actually engaging in more activity. So I think it's almost actually quite a clever way to increase not only the difficulty, but maybe also potentially the effectiveness of movement when considering like caloric expenditure, without people really realizing that they're doing more and potentially achieving more. So again, I'm removing the scope of hypertrophy completely. That the thought of building muscle is in the bin, because to an extent, if you've never worked out before and you were kind of like a blank canvas, doing movements like this, like the arm raise and stuff like that, will to some extent build a small amount of muscle, because you've gone from never working against resistance to working against gravity. So you've gone from, let's say, 0 to 1. That is technically a form of progression, because your arms do weigh something, obviously due to gravity, so you are going to get some resistance doing this. So yeah, you will build a little bit of muscle. How much muscle you build is obviously going to be very limited, but again, you're probably not looking to build mass amounts of muscle doing workouts like this. But again, what you are going to achieve from doing additional movement is probably burn more calories, which might actually be exactly what you want from the workout you're engaging in. And that's going to be very relevant to the comment question of the week question at the end, but I'm going to save that discussion for later in the video. The other thing to consider is, where are you in your fitness journey? Are you quite advanced and far along your fitness journey? In which case, workouts like this may not necessarily be the right workouts for you. An extreme example, let's say you're a marathon runner. Doing these walking workouts probably aren't going to be the best workouts for you to engage in from a cardiovascular and aerobic standpoint for your marathon training. But flip around, so well, who might it actually be really good for? In all honesty, I think workouts like this, despite what you might think I'm going to say, I think they could actually be really beneficial for a few groups of people. Beginners. If you're new to fitness and you're kind of embarking on this fitness journey for the first time in your life, and you haven't lived a very active lifestyle previously, going from doing nothing to an extent to doing something like a walking workout, I think you might actually find it deceptively quite difficult. Going from burning, let's say, an additional 0 calories a day beyond your BMR to maybe burning an extra couple of hundred calories a day. And then you say you do that a few times a week, that adds up, and that could actually end up putting you in quite a substantial deficit, which could potentially lead to quite a noticeable amount of weight loss, which could very much align with your goals. And also the fact you're now more active than you were previously, you are going to get some cardiovascular benefits from this, and obviously heart health. You're also going to get some aerobic benefits from this in the fact that you are going to become fitter and more aerobically efficient. The other group of people I think it could actually be really beneficial for, it could be potentially for overweight individuals who are looking at engaging in a bit more activity, burning some more calories, but things like running and things that are quite heavy impact on the joints might not necessarily be the best bet. And they want to engage in fitness to some extent, and they want to kind of dip a toe in and start their fitness journey, but perhaps the gym is a bit more of an intimidating environment. They're not quite ready to tackle that hurdle yet. I think things like this could actually be really beneficial, because you get to do a workout that's got you a lot more active than you might have previously been from the comfort of your own home, and you could do so just watching TV. As Emi kind of spoke about at the start of the video, she says you could do this watching TV, which is, again, I think can distract people. Another group of individuals that could actually really benefit are those who don't have the freedom to go for runs outside, who don't have the freedom to go to the gym for an hour a day, who don't have the freedom to kind of get out of the house because maybe they've got a busy work life, maybe they've got a busy family life and they can't just leave the house for half an hour at a time. Doing things like this, maybe during your lunch break or after work, before dinner, something along those lines, could really yield some good results, in the sense that you are potentially, like I said earlier, burning an additional couple of hundred calories a day without really thinking about it, whilst not having to negatively impact or consume your life too heavily, because you can do it at home. And if something comes up, like a work call comes in, or maybe the kids need some attention, you can just stop or pause it and crack on and then come back to it later. Like, no one is forcing you to be here for half an hour. If you can only manage 10 minutes of this workout due to maybe ability levels, due to maybe time consideration, so many things, then 10 minutes is going to be better than no minutes. Although I would always say, I think for most goals, including fat loss and and the maintenance of fat loss, so keeping that fat off, I do think resistance training is probably going to be your best bet if you are able to do so. And what I mean by that is kind of lifting weights in the gym. Not everybody is able to do so, and also not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to resistance train, and not everybody wants to go to the gym, because some people either don't like the gym, some people either don't like the look of resistance training, which is fair enough. Some people don't see the appeal of it, or maybe some people are intimidated and want to start somewhere before maybe transitioning to the gym environment down the line, in which case this could be a great opportunity to kind of dip a toe in and see how you feel. You could maybe do this for a little while before then saying, okay, well, how can I progress from this? I'm now completing Emi's workouts fairly comfortably. I feel like I'm fitter, I've lost some weight, I've achieved some of what I want to achieve, but what can I do next? What's the next step? In which case you could consider maybe harder workouts, also harder home workouts. So you could look at Caroline, Sydney, you could look at Heather Robertson, the kind of big names in the home workout space. Obviously I know that Caroline has actually today, I believe, just dropped a new video. So that could be maybe your next progression from this, which does incorporate resistance training as well. And then maybe from that, if you say, you know what, I've done with my home workouts, I want the next step, then maybe you can consider a gym membership and then go from there. You could progress at your own rate. Progressive overload doesn't just have to apply to resistance training. You could progressively overload every aspect of life to an extent, in which you just do more when you're able to do more, thus getting closer and closer to your goals and achieving more and more. But flip around, you may never want to do any of those things. You may be happy just doing these walking workouts at home, and you may achieve your goals just by doing these, in which case you're bloody laughing. It's bloody fantastic. Despite the fact that I will always promote resistance training as a really important thing for people to consider and a really beneficial aspect of fitness for people to consider regardless of goals, I do also acknowledge that it's not that simple. Intimidation is a factor, just genuine appeal and desire is a factor, enjoyment is a factor, time limitations and stress and life are also factors to consider, in which case I think, shockingly, despite what you thought I was going to say, and despite what the title may imply, I think these walking workouts could be a really great starting point for a lot of people. If this workout helps you achieve your goals, regardless of what those goals are, if doing workouts like this help you achieve those goals, then provided you enjoy it, providing you can stick with it so you can remain consistent with it, then if it's not broken, don't fix it. Although it may not be optimal, if it helps you get to where you want to go, if you can enjoy the process and you can stick at it because of those two other factors mentioned, to me it sounds like you've ticked a lot of boxes and you might actually well be onto a winner there. Don't feel pressure to go to the gym if you don't want to go to the gym. Don't feel pressure to lift a certain way if you don't want to lift a certain way. Don't feel pressure to stop doing workouts that you enjoy and stop doing workouts that are helping you achieve your results. If you're happy, you're healthy, and you're achieving what you want to achieve, continue with whatever you're doing because clearly it's working. And obviously I kind of alluded to this earlier about the comment question of the week question, so I'm going to get into that now because it is kind of relevant to what we've discussed. Can you build muscle doing solely body weight calisthenics exercises? I've recently moved into a place where I don't have access to a gym or weights, and I'm wondering if applying the concept of progressive overload to body weight exercises, i.e. harder versions of push-ups, would still result in increased strength and or muscle growth. The quick answer is simply yes. You can build muscle doing body weight movements. You can get stronger doing body weight movements. Because again, like as you said, you can do harder variations of movements, you can do more reps of movements, you can actually add resistance to those movements like press-ups, etc., putting weights on your back, things along those lines. So yes, you certainly can build muscle doing those movements and those workouts. Absolutely. Are you going to maybe build as much muscle as you could build if you had access to like a full kitted out gym with like infinite weight and machines and stuff? Probably not, because again, the progressive overload ceiling is a bit more limited for body weight exercises. But just because it's limited doesn't mean you're not going to achieve great results, because you certainly can achieve great results doing body weight movements. If you can incorporate the principle of progressive overload into it, you're probably making a pretty good step in the right direction, and it's likely going to help you achieve those kind of muscle building and strength gaining results that you were desiring. You just might have to get a little bit creative with how you make those gains by, like you said, making movements harder, doing more reps, making sure you're pushing to sufficient intensity, adding resistance if you can, all those bits and bobs. Like I said at the start of the video, if you do like the video, then please let me know you like the video by liking the video. And again, as I did previously mention, if you haven't already, please do consider tickling the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, and maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you two have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, then please do consider dropping it down below in the comment section for comment question of the week, and I shall do so. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating the lower energy and nasally voice today, as like I said, I'm not feeling too spicy right now. And thank you for tolerating the video.